Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our bigger show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that you can buy this week, whether it's if you shop locally at a comic book store or shop with us online at infinityflux.net. There's all this good stuff that's waiting for you.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely head over there while we're doing this and place your orders because supplies, as always, are limited and you don't want to miss out on a lot of this stuff. Some really, really great stuff and probably one of the big books of the year.
Yep.
Starting us off. So
yeah, Absolute Power,
absolutely.
number one. Absolutely, Absolute Power. So yeah, this is the beginning of DC's next big event. We had Absolute Power Ground Zero last week that set everything up. And Mark Waid said that they wanted to set everything up in that issue so that when we get to this issue, they can just hit the ground running. And they absolutely do that. This thing just starts right from the beginning, right? So I love this. I'll go ahead and tell you now, I absolutely love this. It's probably my favorite single issue of any book that I've read so far this year. I mean, I loved it. I read it twice. I thought it was awesome. So the first 3 pages of this are those preview pages that we saw in the back of several DC books over the last month or so, with one slight little difference that's in here that was not in those preview pages, I guess because they didn't want to spoil anything. So that was really cool to see. So I don't want to spoil too much about this, but I will tell you that there is something that happens that causes the public to lose their trust in superheroes. And of course, Amanda Waller is behind it. You do see what it is, and it's all explained in this book, but I'll leave that for you to read. So the public is already on edge with superheroes. And on top of that, Amanda Waller and Failsafe launch the 6 Amazo robots, go out and start stealing powers from various heroes. It's a very calculated and coordinated attack, and the heroes are woefully unprepared. They're basically caught blindsided. They don't even know what hit them, really. They don't realize what Waller's plan is until it's too late. There's something that happens near the end of this with a certain character that I do not know how they are going to come back from. And then there's even something after that with another character that I'm like, what even is this? Where is this going? So much awesome stuff in here. I'm trying to be super vague so that I don't spoil anything because, I definitely want you guys to experience this as you read it. I will say that reading this kind of felt like reading a Black Label book, something like Deceased, not in the story matter, but, because it's not about like a virus outbreak or whatever, but just in the fact that there's very, very high stakes. Like you said, it feels kind of dark, like Deceased was, and it just feels like things won't be the same after this, and that's me saying that. That's not DC saying things will never be the same after this. That's just me feeling like, man, I kind of feel like things are changing up here a little bit. I don't really know, what happens after this. How do they come back from all this? So, I know a lot of people sort of get event fatigue every now and then, but I absolutely love this. This has my highest recommendation possible. Dan Mora's art is already great, and I feel like he just takes it to a whole other level. I thought he was at the top of his game already. He goes even higher in this. There's so many cameos and guest stars.
There's a ton of characters in here, which I always like when there's a big event book and you're like, oh, something big's going down. We should see a large amount of characters because that's who it's affecting. Right. And you do see everybody from, Superman all the way to, Booster Gold, Beetle,
Animal Man.
Man. You see, like, everyone is kind of to be like, this is affecting everybody.
Yeah, so just absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love this. This has my highest recommendation possible. I can't always. We have this is the main series. There's going to be 3 more issues. We got a couple of tie-in series, and then, there's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, I think Green Arrow, and maybe Green Lantern. Their main books tie into this as well, coming up soon. So lots of good Absolute Power stuff to come, and I just can't wait to see where it all goes.
I also want to say, you can tell this is Mark Waid, who is a seasoned writer, because I feel like, sure somebody's going to find it. There's no like weird loopholes in this. You're like, well, they could actually. Right. Everything is addressed because you go, oh, well, he steals people's superpowers. What about people who, don't have powers? It's their suits. Or what about people who, can naturally do something? Yeah. Like everything is addressed, and every possible like escape route is cut
Right.
off.
Yeah, every possible, call for help, or maybe these other characters will come from here or there. No, it's like Amanda Waller and Failsafe and those guys, they thought of
Yeah.
everything. And there is presumably no help coming for the
Yeah.
heroes. So yeah, super cool. So we have our A cover right here by Dan Mora, and we got some cool variants. This is the John Timms connecting variant. We'll see more of these over the next few books.
Maybe that's the center of the connecting.
Yeah, that would make sense as a center. Yep. We have this Chrissy Zulo, Amanda Waller variant, Lil Waller, I guess.
Adventures of Lil Waller.
Yep. We have this Chris Samney variant, which looks really nice.
I didn't notice, is that Wildcat on there too? And Black
yeah, Wildcat,
Canary?
Black Canary.
That's very cool.
Very deep cut there. This is the Puppeteer Lee. What do they call these? The Versus variants. Very cool there. This is the really awesome Jim Lee variant.
He's going places.
Yep. This is the Sampere variant featuring your Trinity.
And that's the special cover. Like stores had to opt in to get this, so it's a little bit more exclusive.
Nice. And then there's this awesome one, this Dan Mora. I can't remember what they call this, like the character design. Well, this is a design cover, but this is what the characters are gonna wear now that they have lost their powers. And then this really awesome Wes Craig foil variant featuring Paradise Lost. That's the Amazo that steals Wonder Woman's powers. You can see that on the cover right there.
That is extra shiny.
Yeah, that's extra shiny. Holy cow.
Very cool. Yep. Yeah, very excited. We're going to be getting into that, for the next few months, covering all of Absolute Power.
Yeah,
so get in on it now.
Yeah, I loved it so much.
Okay, another thing we love so much is the Energon universe.
Yep.
And that is continuing with Scarlett #2. Scarlett #1 was great, full of surprises, very cool character reveals, all of that. But we are still following Scarlett now that she has attempted to infiltrate the Arashikage clan, kind of homestead base, whatever you want to call it. And it didn't go so well. So now she is under their supervision. You could say that she's maybe not a prisoner, but she's definitely tied up. But Scarlett is a very she has a lot of tricks up her sleeve.
Yeah.
She's very resourceful.
Yeah.
I put something else other than she has tricks up her sleeve, and she has tricks other places that
in her body.
Her body. You'll have to read it to find out how, but it is very disturbing. But this is really cool because she's, as well as being kind of prisoner, she's also being tested by them to see if she's worthy of getting to speak with them and everything. She does have a long conversation with a certain ninja wearing white that we saw at the end of the previous issue, which is great to get more of him. And in this, they to earn their trust, they have a special mission for Scarlett to go on, which I believe may have some ties into the bigger Energon universe. Once we find out, she has to retrieve something. And once we really get a good idea about what this is, I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised how it foils into everything else. But I thought this was a lot of fun. I'm still loving all the Energon universe stuff, and this is a worthy next chapter in that. So we've got our A cover right here. I don't want to give away too much about the story because there's a lot of other stuff going on in here and a lot of things said between characters that are really interesting. We've got this really cool Carl Kerschel variant. So there he is on the cover. So I guess it's Storm Shadow. Plays a pretty big role in this. We also have this 1 in 10 Milkanov variant we're selling for $8.99. There's still more going on too with her friend Jinx.
Jinx, yep.
That is, there's a lot of mystery around like what's Jinx up to at this point. And we also have this 1 in 25 Rivera cover that we're selling for $29.99.
All right, so next up is Spider-Man Reign 2, #1, the sequel to the infamous Spider-Man Reign miniseries from several years ago, written and drawn by Kara Andrews. Now, after the events of the previous series, Wilson Fisk has become the new king of New York. I'm using king in quotes because he's not really a king, but that's what they call him, and he's kind of like the guy running things. Well, Peter Parker in this is even older than he was in the previous series. And I didn't quite understand this part, but it looks like he's being held prisoner. Or maybe he's in some type of old person's home. I'm not really too sure, but he's hooked up to this Matrix type machine where, his old man body is just, in a room, but he thinks that he is living a life with Mary Jane. He's old, but she's still young and pretty in this fake life that he thinks that he's living. Well, one day this young girl in a cat costume named Kitty Cat, who I think is Black Cat's daughter, not 100% sure, but I think that's who it is. Yeah. She rescues him, but he just the whole while he's just like, just hook me back in. I just want to be with Mary Jane, put me back in, that kind of thing. So half of this issue is just them escaping from whatever this facility is that they're in. But the other half is that the web system from the first miniseries, which is the thing that prevented people from entering or leaving the city, it's back online, and again, no one can leave the city. But the city is dangerously low on resources. It can't sustain everybody living there, but the people who are there can't get out. Well, Wilson Fisk is offering everyone a chance to be connected to something that he calls the upload, which I think is like that Matrix type machine that Peter was hooked to, but just large enough for everybody to be hooked into at the same time. There's another piece to this at the end, but I don't want to tell you anything about that because it's very interesting. I can't wait to see what the final page looks really cool. It's like, oh, where is this going to go, and how is that all going to play out? So I won't tell you anything about that. But yeah, it looks like that they're going to need Peter's help to take down the web system again. And there is, well, you'll see on another cover in a second. There's another character in this as well, but a good start. Like the original Spider-Man Reign series is. It's like, oh, it's everybody knows that one because of a certain something that happened in that. And then when they announced the sequel, everybody was thinking, oh, wow, what else can they do? But this was a good start to a follow-up to that story.
Yeah, the first one is definitely infamous.
Yes.
Yeah, people know about it, but maybe not for the right reasons.
Yeah, right. So an interesting beginning to a follow-up series. So I'm very looking forward to see where it goes. So we have our A cover right here, but we also have a cover with, and I'm not spoiling it, it's on the cover, Miles Morales. So he is going to be a part of this series in some way. So you got him right there. This
is so disturbing.
Yeah, this is the Del Mundo variant, Spidey with his big old beard and spider or bugs. Yeah, spiders or something making some kind of spider pattern on his chest. We have the Lionel Francis Yu variant. Peter's beard in this is much bigger than this right here. I love this one. This is my favorite one, the Scotty Young variant with an old man Peter hanging on for dear life with his walker. That one's great. And then we have this 1 in 25 Larix variant that we're selling for $29.99. That's Kitty Cat right there.
Very cool. Next up, I've got another new number one. There's a lot of number ones this week, so you're going to hear us saying that a lot. But this is our next $20.99 series. I believe this is going to be a weekly series like the previous ones were with Spider-Man. But this one, no Spider-Man in it. Mm-hmm. This is Annihilation $20.99. So playing off of the old Annihilation event. But that's mostly just to say all of this is going to be taking place in space. These are all these space characters during $20.99. It even talks about that in the beginning of like, hey, well, $20.99 stuff is going on Earth. There's other stuff going on in space with some characters. So this is by Steve Orlando, who has been doing all of the $20.99 stuff before, and the artist by Ibrahim Roberson. And in this has two stories in it. So the first one is kind of the Last Nova story. It's called The Last Nova because there's two stories in here. And in this, the Last Nova, you can see on the cover, it's a very gunslinger, Old West feeling story where there's a planet. It's very much like an old Western town, and Nova is just trying to, live his life, goes to the bar, sits down, but trouble always finds him. And of course, in this one, you get some of his backstory. You do learn how he is the Last Nova. We don't quite know who this Nova is. Is it somebody we know? Is it a new recruit? But you can tell they've been through a lot. when a group shows up on this planet to cause trouble. They all kind of ride like these symbiote horses, and they are called the Null Set.
Aren't we going to see that in the upcoming Venom movie? The
Yeah,
symbiote
they
horse?
really like the idea of a symbiote horse. But they explain too, like, what's the Null Set? How is it related to Null, the god of the symbiotes? They do all that, which is really interesting. So you get a lot of background on this. But this Nova has to, get his hands dirty once again, as he is the kind of last protector of the universe. And they even say something like, someone calls him out. It's like, they're like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Nova." Can you see the badge? They're like, "Yeah, but that badge doesn't mean anything anymore because the Nova are gone." He's like, "I'm Nova," or whatever. It's really cool, but you do find out who this Nova is, and I will say I did not see it coming. But if you were those with a keen eye, may be able to pick it up along the way. And our second story in here is called Dracula Risen, and this picks up from what was it? Spider-Man 2099.
The one that was like a horror book where there was like, almost like horror characters.
Man-Thing and Morbius, I think.
Terror.
Yeah. So it's got all of
Terror Incorporated, that's what it was.
Yeah. So that story kind of picks up on there with what is Dracula up to at this point. And that was really interesting too, and it's cool that it ties back. And the art in that one is by Dale Eaglesham. So I think this is a worthy continuation of the 2099, and I really like this new Nova. I thought he was very cool, so find out more in Annihilation 2099. I know we're getting a lot of new characters coming up in the 2099 stuff. I think maybe issue 3 or 4 is the Red Hulk one.
Yeah.
Some really cool stuff.
Star-Lord is the next one.
Yeah. Star-Lord.
Star-Lord 2099, yeah.
We've got some variants too. We've got this Ken Lashley variant.
Yeah, that's great.
And we have this 1 in 25 Pete Woods variant we're selling for $24.99.
All right, well, we got another new number one. This is Wolverine Deep Cut number one. This is written by Chris Claremont. The art is by Edgar Salazar. Now, this is another of Marvel's retro series that they've been putting out. This one is set after the events of Uncanny X-Men number 246. And in that issue, Wolverine leaves the X-Men. This is when they were in the Outback era. Wolverine leaves the X-Men to go take care of a personal mission. Well, this miniseries shows us what that personal mission was. And most of this issue was actually Wolverine fighting Sabretooth on Wolverine's birthday, as they do every year on Wolverine's birthday. But at this point in time, back when Uncanny 246 was out, everybody believed that Wolverine and the X-Men were dead. So because of that, Yukio, Kitty Pryde, and Lockheed, they are watching over Mariko Yoshida, who is Wolverine's love at the time, because they think that, well, Sabretooth always comes after Wolverine on his birthday, but now since Wolverine is dead, he's going to come after Wolverine's love instead. So they're watching over her. But while they're doing that, Wolverine actually is fighting Sabretooth. And like I said, most of the issue is them fighting, and it's pretty brutal. There's actually one scene that's really brutal that happens. Sabretooth does something to Wolverine that's actually quite brutal, but it looks really cool. But something is a little bit off with Sabretooth. There's something not quite right, and we see what it is at the end of the issue, and that's maybe going to lead Wolverine into conflict with another classic X-Men villain a little bit later on down the road. But just some more cool Wolverine and Sabretooth action for the most part, with a little bit of a twist thrown in. But if you're a Wolverine fan and you like to see them fight, then definitely this is a good one for you. So this is our A cover right here, and we got some cool variants. This is the Phil Jimenez variant.
And this is kind of one of your whatever Marvel kind of flashback story.
The retro series,
that fits in certain points.
Yep, for sure. Which I didn't quite know that at first. We talked about that on the on the Comics from the Future, but I've sort of forgotten about that. And I was like, what is this? But then, there's a spot where he's talking to Storm, and then they're in the Outback, and there's a little caption that says, "See Uncanny 246."
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so this is the Yarden variant. Wolverine and Sabretooth going at it. This is the CF Villa Stormbreakers variant with, I wonder why they put Wolverine and Deadpool together. That's weird.
I'd like to see those two meet sometime.
That would be cool, yeah. And then here's a 1 in 25 Shelby variant that we're selling for $19.99.
Next up, I've got a brand new Star Wars series. This is Star Wars Inquisitors #1. This is a new mini-series written by Rodney Barnes, and the art is by Ramon Rosanas. And if you're familiar with the Inquisitors, they've appeared quite a few places, like Star Wars Rebels, the Obi-Wan series. The Inquisitors are Palpatine's most dangerous kind of assets. They hunt and kill Jedi that remained after Order 66. And they're kind of one step below Darth Vader in the hierarchy of the Empire. But you've got your Grand Inquisitor, who is the main one we saw in the Obi-Wan series, and this picks up. It's hard to tell when. It's clearly not too long after Episode 3. Maybe a year or so after that, because there's not too many of the Jedi left. They've done a good job hunting them down, but there is one that is really that's sticking in Palpatine's craw. His name is Tensu Run. And first we're kind of wondering why this one Jedi who we've never heard of before, why does Palpatine want to get rid of him so much? And then we do find out the backstory. And I'm not going to tell you the backstory, but I'll say because he inspires hope. And that's the last thing the Empire wants for the rest of the galaxy, is to feel hope against the Empire. So the Inquisitors are going after him in very brutal ways. They're very show up to a planet, bring out your people, who's your leader, if he doesn't tell us what we want, we'll kill him, type thing. And there's a lot of that, as it's not really cat and mouse, but you can see the Inquisitors get closer and closer to Tensu Run. And then the other side of the story is we see him as he's kind of trying to stay safe with a couple of other Jedi, but knowing, the time is running out, and hearing about what is going on with the Jedi that he thought were safe. So maybe he thinks, I'm tired of running, and maybe I need to turn the tables on the Inquisitors. So really interesting new characters, where some of them are like, is this an already established character? Because they already felt very, they had a special look to them, and I was like, that looks like a character. Looking up, they're not. So it's the first appearance of a lot of new Jedi characters. Who will they survive this? Probably not. Not too many survive a run-in with the Inquisitors, but it looks like we're going to also be delving a little deeper into at least the Grand Inquisitor and maybe his life before he became an Inquisitor too, which is really interesting. So definitely check it out if you're looking for a new Star Wars series to start, and especially ones that are focused on dark side characters are always really cool.
Yeah.
So this is...
especially ones with cool lightsabers like that.
Yeah, they don't in the live action do the helicopter thing, but they can fly with those. They can do a little...
really?
Yeah, it spins really fast.
Oh man, that's awesome.
But yeah, and we really only see the Grand Inquisitor in here, but I believe the other ones are going to be showing up in this as well. So that is our A cover. We also have a Walt Simonson variant. Very interesting. You see him face off against Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah.
We've got a Sprouse, the Phantom Menace anniversary cover with Maul. And then we have this 1 in 25 Alex Maleev variant we're selling for $34.99. Or as you would say, just shy of $35.
Just under $35.
Just under $35.
It's a steal. All right, well, next up, I have Batman number 150.
You got me there.
Yeah. This is a slightly oversized issue, big anniversary size issue, 150, right? They got to do something special. So there's two stories in this. The main story in this is a one and done story about a former henchman that used to work for Catwoman that discovered that Bruce Wayne is really Batman at the end of Gotham War Scorched Earth. Mm-hmm. There was that little tease at the end, and then we never heard anything else about it. Well, this is the follow-up to that. So he knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and he shops that information around Gotham's underworld, and he says, for $1 million, he goes to see maybe Two-Face and the Penguin's kids and a couple other people. It's like, for $1 million, I'll give you this information. I'll tell you who Batman is. What's really interesting is that a lot of the bad guys that he talks to and tries to sell this information to, they say, we don't want to know. Mm-hmm. They say, Batman's bad enough. He comes down hard enough on us. What do you think he would be like if he knew that we knew who he was? Mm-hmm. It would be even worse. We don't want to know. You keep it. You need to keep that information to yourself. You need to stop telling people that you know this because other people are going to come after you. And I just thought that was a really cool, twist on the story. And then there's, something happens. There's a little twist at the end that I thought was actually really, really cool. So just a nice one and done story of this guy who knows that Batman is really Bruce Wayne. And I just thought it was cool. Nobody wants to know, right? That's really neat. I just think it's cool that Batman has that reputation that he almost doesn't have to worry about his secret identity because nobody.
It feels like he's engineered that.
Yeah.
Like that's like a failsafe for people who learn his identity.
Yeah. There was one, because Two-Face knows. And he's like, dude, I already know who Batman is, and I don't advertise it. Like you don't want to tell people. So the backup story is an Absolute Power tie-in. And in that story, Batman goes to Cyborg for help dealing with the Amazo robots, and that leads him into a confrontation with Paradise Lost, who is the Amazo robot who steals Wonder Woman's powers. We're going to see them in one of the issues of Absolute Power, Task Force 7. I don't remember which one. I think maybe 5 or something like that. So while they're dealing with that, Cyborg does learn that Amanda Waller has, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but he learns that Amanda Waller has something else that we did not learn about in Absolute Power #1. So this gives us a little bit more information as to what Amanda Waller is doing. And Batman knows that he has to, that thing that she has, he knows that he has to get it back from her. And that is what he is going to be doing in the pages of Batman. The next 3 issues, I think, as it ties into Absolute Power, that's what the story is going to be, is Batman trying to get this thing back from Amanda Waller that she has that makes her very, very dangerous. So I thought that was really cool as well. And like I said, we didn't know in Absolute Power #1, because I read that first, we didn't know that she has this thing that he found out that she has. So
yeah, it's almost as big as her having Failsafe and Queen Brainiac. It's another thing that's like, just that alone would...
Oh, that's not good that she has that. Yeah,
that would already put you ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So a really cool tie-in and a cool one and done in the first story. So a great issue of Batman right here before we dive into some Absolute Power stuff. So there's our A cover right there. And then we've got some cool variants. This is by Dustin Lin with Poison Ivy, who is not in this issue. This is by Mattia De Luis with Harley, who is also not in this issue.
They're just getting them out elsewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we have the Jose Luis Garcia Lopez design variants, from the sketchbook or the style guide. Yeah, the style guide that was on FOC this past weekend, and I ordered that very quickly. So I love that old school artwork. We have a 1 in 25 Chris Samney variant that we're selling for $19.99. And then there is a 1 in 50 Terso variant that we're selling for $34.99.
Way to go for Samney, who's doing Batman incentives and Amazing Spider-Man covers.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, man.
Now he just needs to draw them together. That would be so cool.
Just imagine your day at work. How am I doing? Am I drawing Batman today or Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Yes, I'll do both.
Both.
Okay, next up we have a one-shot called Life of Wolverine, which, if you weren't aware, it's a pretty long one. So this is by Jim Zub, and the art is by Raymond F. Bax. And this, you said it after I was telling you about it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of a Wolverine Grand Design.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with the Grand Design books, where it kind of covers the entire history of a character, with kind of hitting on all of the highlights. The only difference is this one actually has a reason why we're seeing all this. It actually takes place during the Krakoan era, and Jean Grey Wolverine's like laying on a table, and she's like, I've got to go through your mind, and I'm going to be seeing your history and all of that, and he's like, I'm okay with it, you're Jean Grey.
He's like, as long as you don't look at my browser history.
Yeah, exactly. But this is really cool. This starts back all the way like in the 19th century when he was born, and goes through, his time in Japan, his time in all the different wars he fought in, his time in the X-Men. But what I really like about this is when you get to the end, and there is a couple of pages where it basically goes page by page, and sometimes panel by panel, or like these 3 panels, these 2 panels, and things that happen in those, it tells you where that's taken from.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So in the beginning, a lot of it's from Origins, the Wolverine series, and then it will be, I think the very first part that takes place in Krakoa, it says this is from X lives of Wolverine. So it's really cool if you're reading this and you're like, when did this happen to Wolverine?
Yeah.
You can easily reference this, and it in most cases shows the cover.
And his life story is told chronologically. So
Yeah.
when Jean's looking in his mind, like it starts with him as a kid.
Right.
Even though that story didn't come out till decades later.
Yeah, so the books in the end, it shows you're all over the
Yeah.
place. You'll get some old Uncanny X-Men issues. You'll get, Hulk 181 in there. You've got all of that stuff. And then it references all those, which is, I feel like, what we were talking before, they should do this with all the characters.
Yeah.
Because this gives you a really good idea of even stuff like, I know about his time in Japan, or I know about his time in World War One. But I'm like, but where did this particular part of that story come from?
Right.
I can easily reference that. I would love for them to do this with Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, all of those who have had such a long history, to be like, where did that actually take place? So I think this is a really cool one-shot. At first I was like, why are we getting this the same week as another Wolverine miniseries? But now I kind of understand this is a great kind of supplemental material. It's a story, but also a great kind of a reference tool.
Yeah.
And in time for Deadpool and Wolverine, for all people who are maybe you haven't read a Wolverine book before, this is great for that.
So Marvel, if you're watching, I know that you are. Make a bunch of these for a bunch of different heroes. Sell them for cheap. Let comic shops just have these in stock. If somebody comes in, hey, I want to know more about Daredevil. Okay, well, read Life of Daredevil.
Yeah.
And, pick out the parts that you like the best. Go to the back, see where those stories are. And just, and it'll snowball from there. Like, that would be really, really cool.
Yeah, and it's great because it's not like it doesn't feel like you're reading a textbook. There's a story here.
Yeah, and there's artwork to it.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, and there's just the one cover for Life of Wolverine. So this is just a great one, maybe just to throw in your stack this week when you're picking up books. It's just a cool bonus.
Yeah, very cool idea. Hope they do more of those.
Yeah.
All right, so next for me is another, well, I guess it's kind of sort of a number one. It's the Amazing Spider-Man annual for this year.
There is a one on it.
Yeah, they always say number one, but it's an annual for this year. So,
it's funny because they did numbered annuals.
Yeah.
Like annual, Spider-Man annual 14, or X-Men annual that was the tie-in with like the Atlantis attacks. Now every year is a number one.
Yeah, just put the year on it is all I really need.
Yeah.
So this is written by Derek Landy and the art is by Ron Lim. This is in the Infinity Watch Part 2. So the first part was in the Thanos annual from last week. This is Part 2 of that. However, I will say that if you didn't read that, but maybe you're buying Amazing Spider-Man, and you're like, well, I didn't read that, so I'm not going to read this. You actually could pretty much read this as a nice one-and-done story because only really the last page of it ties into that story. Or really makes that connection. The rest of it is Spider-Man going up against Overtime, who is the character who is bonded with the Time Stone. This whole storyline is about these characters who have been bonded with various Infinity Stones. Well, Overtime here is bonded with a Time Stone, and it starts with Spider-Man being upset because the day before he was fighting this new supervillain and was trying to stop him, but the supervillain was accidentally killed. Spider-Man tried to save him and couldn't, so he's sort of down in the dumps. Well, he runs into Overtime, who is trying to rob an armored car, so he intervenes. And during their fight, Overtime learns about what happened the day before, so he said, well, I'm going to fix this for you. And he's only able to go back in time 24 hours. So he tries to go back to the previous day and prevent that villain from getting killed, but he's unsuccessful. And he's like, no, I want to fix this. And the more he does it, he can jump back a little bit further in time. And it's one of those stories that you've seen before where they go back to the past, try to fix something, it doesn't work, so they try it again. And something else happens and it doesn't work, and they try it again and again. And it's one of those stories, and he keeps coming back to the present. Spider-Man fights him a little bit more. Hey, where do you keep going? Or why are you wet? Because it was raining the day before, that kind of thing. And it's just a really cool story of Spider-Man, both current day and, the day before. Overtime knows what Spider-Man's going to say, so he uses Spider-Man's quips before Spider-Man does and that kind of thing. And it's just like a really interesting story of, a little bit of time travel, just jumping back a day or two, nothing too major. But I really liked it. And it doesn't, not until the end that, it sort of hooks itself back into the Infinity Watch storyline. And there's a backup story with Nighthawk, of the Squadron Supreme. and the character that was resurrected by the new Death Stone in the Thanos annual last week. But it's really cool because Nighthawk heavily references the Heroes Reborn event from a couple of years ago when the world changes and it's the Squadron Supreme who are the big heroes instead of the Avengers. He wants to get back to that.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if, like, is there something there? So I thought that was a really interesting little backstory. And we're going to see more of that over the next several issues. So this was really cool. I really, the Ron Lim art was really good too. Like, just, it was really good. So there's our A cover right there. And we got a couple of variants. This is our Ron Lim. So that gives you a little preview of, like, what it looks like on the inside. And it looks great. Lots of good action. And then there is a 1 in 10 RB Silva design variant that we're selling for $9.99.
Next up, I've got a cool kind of supplemental or run alongside book to Thundercats. This is Thundercats Cheetara, which I'm not sure if this is a miniseries or ongoing. I would say
I think it's a miniseries.
Miniseries. I know in some of the things it said, like, Cheetara gets her own ongoing series for the first time, but I think they actually just meant that at, like, her first series. Like, not a one-shot.
Right.
So this is written by Sue Lee, and the art is by Chiara Di Francia. And this tells the story of Cheetara before the events of Thundercats, before they had to flee Thundera, before Third Earth, before all of that. We find out who Cheetara was back on Thundera. And we do find out that she's kind of from a noble family. And I thought was also interesting is she is a member of the Thundercats before the Thundercats that we know. Thundercats were a thing on Thundera, which is pretty cool. It's like kind of an elite squad of characters. Now, what I wasn't expecting this is we also see what was Cheetara's relationship with Lion-O. And of course, if you know Lion-O, he was a kid when they left Thundera before they got to Third Earth, and he his pod was messed up, so he grew at a regular rate. But Cheetara actually was almost like a mother figure to him when he was small because of his father was in bad health. He didn't have a mother. So she helped raise him and train him when he was really little, and we're going to be seeing more and more of that. Also, what's going on is Cheetara keeps having these visions or dreams that involve the Sword of Omens, which hasn't been touched in eons. They say, it's such a kind of a strong thing and everything, but why does it just sit here like as a decoration? She's having dreams about all that, which we know is leading up to the events of Thundercats. Yeah. So a really interesting kind of the regular Thundercat series is familiar, especially the beginning of it. We knew that story. This is a story we didn't know at all. And to see Thundera kind of at its prime is really cool as well. So if you're a big Thundercats fan, you'll definitely want to pick up Thundercats Cheetara. That is our A cover. We also have, of course, since it is a Dynamite book, we've got a bunch of variants. So this is our Puebla variant. We've got a Lyrics variant. We've got a Sue Lee variant, so that's your writer, who also, I believe, wrote and drew the Maleficent comic. I really like this one. This is the Dowling variant. Almost kind of a Dan Mora vibe to that one. Good. Then we also have a 1 in 15 Lyrics foil variant. We're selling for $14.99.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, next I've got Deadpool number 4, and I'm really enjoying this series, and I'm continuing to enjoy it with this one. So in this one, we see Taskmaster training Deadpool's daughter, so that because she has the same healing factor as Deadpool does. But through this training, Taskmaster realizes that maybe that healing factor gives her another type of benefit as well, and I'll leave it at that. But while they're doing that, they receive a transmission from Death Grip, a video transmission that says he tells them where he is, and he says that he and his disciples are ready to receive Deadpool's final lesson, because he is all about getting Deadpool's immortality. Essentially, he wants to be able to live forever, wants to be able to regenerate and all the stuff like Deadpool does. So Deadpool and Taskmaster do go to where Death Grip is. and they face off against some of his goons. And there's a really cool action scene. There's this really nice double-page spread of them fighting all this, so there's some good action there. And so Taskmaster stays and deals with the goons while Deadpool goes to confront Death Grip. But Death Grip has a surprise that Deadpool was not prepared for, and I don't really know how he's going to deal with that, how he's going to sort of come back from this. So just another really good issue of Deadpool with him facing off against Death Grip, and I think maybe next issue is the last of this first story arc, so a little bit more to go, but it was really good. I like the art, I like the action, this was fun. So there is our A cover right there. We have our Greg Land Aliens variant. I would like to see that fight, Deadpool versus a Xenomorph. We have, of course, the movie variant. And we have the Stormbreakers, Jan Bazaldua, Deadpool, and Wolverine variant. And we're going to see them on the big screen in about 3 weeks or so.
Yeah. Next up, I've got another one-shot for us. This is All the Things We Didn't Do Last Night. It says number 1, but it's a one-shot by Maria Lovett. And this is actually a collection of her stories that were in the Image anthology book they did for the whole year. So this collects all of those in one story. But if you didn't know what it's about, a young historian named Maimon who has become a jewelry thief, and she's got a respect for the artifacts. You know, she's not just like smashing and grabbing. She also likes to spend a little bit of time with the stuff that she steals. And there's a hitman named I don't remember what his name is, but they kind of have they call it a meet cute, but you know, they bump into each other. He accidentally spills coffee on her. They hit it off or whatever, and they meet up later. But they don't know about each other's professions outside of their extracurricular activities. So when they are going to do their assigned missions, they do go on they plan a date. But before that, they go on their kind of assigned missions, and what do you know? They see each other commit a crime.
Okay.
And what is this going to do to this relationship? How's this date going to go now? It's all kind of one and done in this. It's a really fun, dark romance, but with, some kind of comedy elements to it as well. And if you know Maria Lovett's art, who did this cover, you know what it's going to look like. But very mature, but very fun. So this is All the Things We Didn't Do Last Night. The A cover. We've got a B cover. It's kind of their other professional look. And then we also have this Aurelian variant. This is a 1 in 10. We're selling for $7.99.
All right, and the rest of my books for this show are Blood Hunt tie-ins because there's 6 of them this week, and I'm going to talk about 4 of them. Not right now, but in a minute. So this one is Doctor Strange number 17, and this is just the conclusion to the previous issue where Victor Strange inhabited Doctor Strange's vampire body that was sort of being held captive, and Wong was trying to face off against him. Well, they're still going at it, but while that's happening, Baron Mordo and Bats and the Sanctum's snakes come up with a plan to defeat him. And at the end of it, let's just say maybe it solves a problem, one problem that was presented early on in the Blood Hunt story. Maybe something has been rectified. This is the last Blood Hunt tie-in for Doctor Strange. This is going to continue on into Blood Hunt number 5, which is the last issue of that. And then, the next issue of Doctor Strange will just be back to normal, more or less. But just want to let you know about another Blood Hunt tie-in. So there's our A cover right there. And we have this Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe variant featuring Deadpool killing Doctor Strange. Although, didn't that already happen at the end of Blood Hunt number 1?
Yeah.
Something like that. So he's a little bit late.
Next up for me, I've got Doctor Who number 1. This is going to be a mini-series to begin with. This is by Dan Waters and Kelsey Ramsey. And this is really cool. So I've watched all of the new Who, all the stuff with the 15th Doctor, and this fits right into those as we see the Doctor and Ruby Sunday on... this actually follows up the Free Comic Book Day issue as well. So in that, they found a strange gauntlet, kind of a cyber gauntlet that was in a time period it was not supposed to be. On it, it had some coordinates, and they follow the coordinates in the TARDIS to this place, which is It's a mall. It's kind of a big mall in the future, set kind of in a post-apocalyptic Earth, but the mall is still all clean and nice. It's like it was protected from it, and the people who just ran into the mall to grab something are all still there.
Okay.
Which is, and it's
do they know what's happened?
Yeah, they
Okay.
know what's happened, and the doctor's like, well, why don't you try to leave? He's like, go up there. There's no atmosphere. There's no oxygen. Ships that try to take off just crash. No, we're fine in here. So, like, all the stores are still open and, like, the restaurants and stuff.
Oh, nice.
So it's a weird little microcosm going on. The way their food, since it's the future, it's, like, recycled stuff, particles from the air and all that. So they have all the food they need. But something happens when the lights turn off in this mall and some creepy stuff starts coming out. And the character we saw at the end of the Free Comic Book Day book, the character, this man who collects the screams of people, is not too far away.
Okay.
So, really fun first issue in this new run of Doctor Who comics. And plus, it was lettered by our own Richard Starkings, who's a good friend of ours.
He's a big Doctor Who fan, too.
He's a big Doctor Who fan. His house is full of Who merchandise and really cool stuff. So, yeah, just a great start to a series. If you are a big Doctor Who fan, definitely pick this up. We've got our A cover here, which is by Artgerm, which is really cool. We also have, this is the Swabby variant, which also, there might be some Cybermen in it, but not the way you think. And then we also have this. This is the Christopher Jones variant as well.
Well, next I've got Miles Morales Spider-Man number 22, another Blood Hunt tie-in. And this one is just the final confrontation between Miles and Hightail versus Ramir, who is the vampire that they fought against several issues back before Blood Hunt even started, and then who was resurrected last issue. They've got to put him back in his bottle, basically. He comes out of this crystal, and they got to put him back. But to do that, they get some assistance from Bloodline, who actually shows up to help out. So that was really cool to see her, because we've only seen her a little bit in the main story and then in the Dracula book. So she shows up to help. And yeah, we'll tell you how they do it. But it does look like this, we're getting close to the end of Blood Hunt now. So all of these tie-ins are starting to, to be concluded in Blood Hunt number 5.
Yeah.
So we're starting to drift into that, where everything, we've been reading all these stories, and now they're all starting to coalesce back to the final chapter. But yeah, just another cool. But what's interesting is that I don't think Miles gets cured of his vampirism at the end of Blood Hunt, because we have that Blood Hunters series coming out so I don't know what's going on with that, but we'll have to wait and see. But we've got our A cover right here, and we got a couple of variants. This is the Rose Besh right there. Looks really cool. And this is the Ron Lim, Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. But Miles is a vampire, so can he die? I don't know.
And I don't think suction cups would hurt him anyways.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
Next up for me is Space Ghost. Number 3. One of my favorite books coming out and continues to be. This one definitely kind of ups the story and everything. Whereas it was a lot of setup about, the twins and are they twins? They're twins.
I mean, not identical. Well, obviously, because they're boy and girl. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe?
I always just assumed they're twins. So a lot of this definitely feels like Batman training Robins
right.
in a really cool way. But the beginning of this was definitely set up for, them joining Space Ghost's kind of team and all of that. Now we're starting to get into the story, where we got a hint of Space Ghost's origin in the previous issue. Well, in this one, they meet up with a character called the Widow, who is a villain, but she might know where to find more information, for one, about Space Ghost's past, and the as I'll call them, the twins' past.
Yeah, okay.
But can she be trusted? But Space Ghost is going to have to work with her for a little while to try to figure all this out. And could she double-cross them? I don't know. But this has a really cool, how does Space Ghost break into, a skyscraper facility? Pretty easily with his ghost powers.
Yeah.
But you see him do, some really awesome things, there's these giant doors and he can, hold them open with his super strength
Yeah.
and everything. Just really cool. Plus, we learn maybe there's more to Blip, the monkey, and why people may be after him as well. So just a great issue. The art is fantastic. Super, super fun. So that is our A cover. And there's some great covers in here. So we've got our Berens cover. We have our show cover, kind of very classic. This is our Jay Lee cover, and it kind of looks like spiderwebs, but we've got a character in here called the Widow who has a very kind of spider-like appearance, so it kind of fits. We also have this amazing Alex Toth variant with more kind of notes and everything. I need to read the cover of that because I love those. Then we have a 1 in 10 Berens variant. We're selling for $8.99, just the version of that one cover. We've got a 1 in 10 Cho foil variant. We're selling for just under $10.
Just under $10.
We've got the 1 in 10 Jay Lee foil variant for $9.99. And then we have a 1 in 25 Jay Lee line art variant that we're selling for $18.99.
Yeah, it was a bummer. I read the first 2 issues on, before our respective Monday videos like we're doing now, but the timing didn't work out for me to read that one this time. So I'm chomping at the bit for Wednesday to get here so I can, it's in my pull box. I can't wait to read that one because it's great. All right, so next up is Black Panther Blood Hunt number 3. This is the last of the Black Panther Blood Hunt series, the tie-in. Now, we are 4 issues into the main Blood Hunt event. Number 4 came out a couple weeks ago. However, this right here takes place before Blood Hunt number 3. So we're going back just a little bit.
Mind in the right
that's
place.
right. Because this shows us what Black Panther was doing right before that hidden temple in Wakanda was teleported into the middle of Central Park. So in this one, it's still underwater, guarded by Atlanteans. It has not been transported to New York yet. So we just learn a little bit more about that. We see, what Black Panther has to do to get into that temple. And we also get some more of the story that's set way, way in the past with several of the gods battling the demon slash first vampire Varney, who we now know has figured into the larger Blood Hunt story. So we get to see a little bit more of that character, learn a little bit more about him, and see just how powerful he is. But yeah, I just wanted to point out Black Panther Blood Hunt number 3. It's the last one of these, so if you got the first 2, don't miss this one. That's our A cover right there, and we have this David Go variant also.
Well, I've got another new number 1. This one from Image. This is called Free Agents, and this is by Kurt Busiek, Fabian Nicieza, and the art is by Stephen Mooney, and this is a 40-page number 1. So you get a lot of story in here. That's why it's going to be hard to sum up a lot of this in my description. But we pick up with a team of heroes. We get kind of they're doing like a mission or whatever. So you do see kind of a little like here's a picture of them, and then you get like here's their name, here's their power, all of that. And I forget how many of them. There's probably like 6 or 7 of them. But it starts to seem a little weird when they like they've got to report back into their home base or whatever, and one of them goes, "Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that this planet has 24-hour days, or this Earth has 24-hour days," and stuff. You come to find out these are kind of refugees from another universe, heroes who fought in some kind of crisis-like event that's still haunting some of them. And they got stranded on Earth. So now they're kind of trying to adapt to Earth, but they also kind of just want to retire after that. They kind of want to put their superheroing away. One of the characters, I think her name is Chalice, she just wants to go to school. She's a teenager. But, of course, something is going to pull them back into action. And it may be something familiar to them. Now, what's really interesting about this also is this is part of the Image universe. They mention Cyberforce in there.
Oh, nice.
Stuff. And in the back, there's kind of not where the letters page would be, but it was from Fabian Nicieza, who talks about the book and all the people working on it. And does say in issue 2 and 3, there is going to be guest appearances by characters people know.
Very cool.
So I think it's going to be cool if maybe we see, I don't know, Savage Dragon or some of the other big Image characters pop up in this. And it feels like lately they've been doing a lot of this, which is really cool, with like Local Man and that Blood Squad 7 and stuff. You know, they're kind of building up. These all are in a shared universe, which I always love.
It's like they're adding to their old school universe from the 90s.
Yeah. So really cool. I would say this is great. If it definitely is dialogue heavy, but it's because there's a lot of ground to cover, kind of setting up this world and these characters and their current, mindset being on Earth. But there is plenty of action as well. So it seems like it's going to be really cool. And like I said, 40 pages for the number 1. So that is really cool. That is our A cover. And we also have this Kevin Maguire variant cover that's Chalice.
Well, my last one is also a Blood Hunt tie-in. This is Blood Hunters number 3. I don't think this is the last one of these yet, though. But this is the book that has 3 different stories. The first 2 stories are just quick little one-and-done stories, and the third story is the one that carries across all the different issues. So the first one in here is called Lord and Savior, and it features Dr. Doom, which I was really excited about, as he protects the Latvian embassy that's in Alberia, because, he protected Latveria itself. Like, they're free and clear of all this silly blood hunt stuff, but the embassy in other countries, they're being overrun. So he goes to the one in Alberia.
He seemed like such a good leader. He's like, oh, and I've got a stake over there. I'm going to go help them too.
Yeah, and that's kind of... it's like he's a good leader, but he's not a good guy. And that's kind of addressed in this story. Like, it's really interesting. So, we get that with him. The second story is called The Fall of the House of Utter. And it features Hellcow, which you can see right there on the cover right here. And it's about this young guy, in his 20s or whatever. He's working on a farm in service of Hellcow, and he witnesses the terrible things that she does because she's, not a great cow, not a great person, but he's kind of numb to it for some reason. He wants her immortality, though, and he's willing to do whatever he needs to do to get it. But maybe he shouldn't have, maybe it doesn't work out so well for him. And then the last one is Once More Into the Darkness Part 3. And this is your story that goes across all the issues. This one sees, Dagger has been turned into a vampire. And Elsa Bloodstone, she's ruthless. She's like, well, the Dagger's a vampire. We got to take her out. But White Widow disagrees. She's like, no, she's one of us. She saved my life. So they get into it a little bit. And at the end of it, another character joins their little impromptu team. And if you've seen the covers to the next Blood Hunters series, it's coming out after the Blood Hunt event is finished, you'll know who that is. But yeah, just another really solid 3 really interesting stories in this book. And this is the only cover that we have currently.
Well, I'm not done with my Blood Hunt. As weird as that sounds.
That is weird.
So I've got a couple of Blood Hunt books. So first off is Werewolf by Night Blood Hunt. This is a one-shot. This is by Jason Liu and Adam Gorman. And in this is not Jack Russell. This is Jake Gomez, who is Werewolf by Night. He's also part of the Hopi tribe in Arizona. So he's a Native American. I believe he was introduced, it's fairly recently, within the past few years.
Just a few years ago. I want to say maybe like 4 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. But he's got his own kind of look to when he transforms and everything. But his thing is, if he listens to music, when he transforms, he can kind of stay grounded and not kind of go berserk as a werewolf. But in this, he is going to a dinosaur theme park, a rundown dinosaur theme park. He says it's his gym. So I guess he goes there and kind of... when he has to transform, he goes there, and kind of that's where he, I don't know, maybe transforms and works out at the same time.
Yeah, it's where he can do whatever he needs to do without hurting anybody.
Right. But, of course, this is the time of the blood hunt, a lot of stuff going down. And this kind of has 2 villains in it. One of them is there's some kids trying to summon this kid trying to summon his uncle. They've got like the circle created and his uncle died. He's trying to bring him back, but maybe it's not his uncle. Maybe it is, and maybe this character has some relation to Ghost Rider. So it's very weird. But on top of that, vampires.
Yep.
So Jake Gomez
I love that. Oh, and also vampires. Yeah.
has to transform into Werewolf by Night, and it seems like the Blood Hunt gives him kind of enhanced abilities over his regular transformations. So there's a lot of action in that, but it's a little weird with like the vampires going on, and then the spirit they summon is kind of like, I'm over here,
Yeah.
like I'm just dodging everything that's going on, and but I think maybe part of that is going to lead into the new Werewolf by Night Red Band series coming up. It does say that what happens here kind of seeds what's going to happen there. So I don't know what that's going to be, how it's going to be related, but it is by the same writer. But it was an interesting story. I don't know if I 100% understood it because there's a lot of elements going on. But this Werewolf by Night is cool. He's got a cool look. He's kind of a white wolf, as you can see on the cover.
Got a big ponytail.
Yeah, he's
just like it's like it's the '90s all over again.
So that is our A cover for it. Yeah, and once again, we've talked about on occasion like how much does this impact the overall Blood Hunt?
Not at all.
None.
No.
But I feel like they're trying to get you used to Werewolf by Night.
Yeah.
The character and everything, because I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of him. We've got some variants as well. I love this one. This is the Davila variant. And that is going to be your artist on the Werewolf by Night Red Band book, which is about Jack Russell.
Yeah.
So that's going to be coming up in a few weeks. We also have our Sean Cheeks Galloway Saturday Morning Adventures variant. We've also have this 1 in 25 Wolf variant, which is, her name works well here. That we're selling for $59.99. This is a 1 in 25. It's very cool. And you're out.
I'm done.
You're
That's
tapped.
it. Yeah, I'm tapped out.
Okay, well then I've got another one. We've got, I'm trying to remember the order this goes in.
X-Men, Blood Hunt, Psylocke.
Okay, X-Men Blood Hunt Psylocke. This is written by Steve Fox, and the art is by Lin Yoshi. And this is another one. It doesn't affect the overall story of what's going on. It's more to see what's Psylocke doing during all this.
If you're you're reading the main Blood Hunt series and you put it down, you're like, wait a second, what's Psylocke up to during all this? This is the book for you.
Exactly. So in this, she's returned to Japan, kind of just for some chilling. Yeah. She's with John Greycrow, who we've seen a few times recently. But the sky goes dark. And this is one of those interesting things where it's not only vampires that attack. This is all creatures of the kind of dark force realm. And that includes Japanese monsters, ancient and modern. And you see a lot of the very weird, like, it's got a woman's head, but like a snake body and a lot of that. And Psylocke has to deal with that in the way she knows how, with blades. Yep. So that was really fun.
Psychic knives.
Yeah, psychic knives. So that was really fun. It doesn't affect the overall Blood Hunt, but if you are reading all the, you want to keep up with what the X-Men are doing, this is another good one. I still think my favorite was the Magic
it was cool.
one shot, but this one's cool as well. We also have a Peach Momoko variant for it. And then lastly for me, because I still want to talk about this book because it is awesome, this is Boy Wonder. Issue number 3, this is the one that is Damien telling a story to a robber, but actually the story is kind of recounting what he's learned from the different Robins. And of course in this one, this is Damien teams up with Tim Drake. In this version, he is Red Robin with his old Red Robin suit. And involves some other characters as they go to, I don't remember if it's like an auction but it's kind of a gala of sorts, where Penguin's there, Maxwell Lord's there, and Lex Luthor's there, and they've got some investigating to do there. So you've got Damien crawling through the air vents, and all of that. Plus you see Red Robin don his old suit, which this version has like a big parrot nose, which is kind of funny. But it's cool to see them come together, and we learn more about the villain that's been in this. Plus, there's kind of maybe a surprise villain that shows up that may be part of all of this.
I like surprises.
Yeah, so this continues to be really cool. I really like the art. It's very different, but it's very refreshing for a Batman book. And that is our A cover by Junie Ba. And we have this variant by Dolio. I'm not sure. It does not say on there where it usually does, but very cool one as well. And that's like Tim wearing his nice tux he wears to this this gala. But I think that is it for this week's crop of books. So thank you so much for watching. Head over to infinityflux.net right now where you can order these books while supplies last. Some of these we got more than others, so be fast. Make sure you get your orders in so you don't miss out. Stay tuned for our shows coming up on Wednesday. We'll be going over the books that you can pre-order by the end of the week so you can get a head start on that. And remember to like and subscribe and do all that good stuff. It continues to help push out our comics positive message to the world. And we always appreciate it. So, until next time, see ya.